hyperpartisan nonsense is like a disease, and it spreads and infects everything it touches, even people who should know better. In today's video, we are taking a look at the viral letter released by an Air Force General, Mike Minahan, and we're going to be breaking down why he thinks war with China is just 24 months away. I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran, and let's take a look at what is going on here. Okay, let's pull up this letter for starters. Now, I want to point this out. This is a memorandum intended for command groups, right? Looks like a lot of the wing commanders in his command, and he's in an air mobility command. We can see it up here. And when we talk about air mobility command, right, this is important because what Air Mobility Command does is their joint transport. These are the long-haul truckers of the Air Force, right? They do air refueling, aeromedical evacuation, and run the global mobility air support system. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm saying this like dismissively as though, you know, when I was in Afghanistan, right, if I had troops that were wounded and needed medevac, these are the guys that got wounded soldiers out of Bagram and to better care in Europe. And they also, of course, kept our fixed wing aircraft in flight and moved a ton of personnel and equipment into theater. These guys are essential to the warfighting function. And so I don't want to be dismissive of the Air Mobility Command's mission, right? But let's just take a look at what the commanding general of this Air Mobility Command has to say. Okay, so first off, situation. When you see situation and commander's intent, what you're looking at is an operations order type of format. This is classically 5 paragraphs: situation, mission, execution, sustainment, and command and control, right? 5 paragraphs, and using that format, you can plan just about any mission from your kid's birthday party all the way to the invasion of an adversary country. So situation. It opens with, "I hope I am wrong." This is, for the record, guys, not doctrinal. Then he says, "My gut tells me we will fight in 2025. Okay, right here, this sort of high drama, hyper partisan memoranda is anathema to good command. And you may be like, Paul, you're just some army guy who's just being salty on the internet. And I'll say this, in addition to being a combat veteran who led over 300 combat patrols as a platoon leader in Afghanistan, I also happen to have a master's degree from Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies, focusing on national security and economics. I did a lot of research actually on nuclear deterrence policy, so I actually am pretty qualified to weigh in on this. I also spent several years at DHS dealing with transnational migration issues. So I do happen to be able to weigh in on this sort of geopolitics. And all right, so his gut tells me we will fight in 2025. Okay. If you are a long-range forecaster at the Pentagon, I will tell you what they don't use. They don't use their guts, right? Your gut is not reliable because your gut is reliable in a tiny number of tasks. These tasks are ones in which you have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of experience. So much so that your unconscious brain is able to draw on that wealth of experience and spit out an insight faster than your conscious brain can. So for example, if you were let's say you were an experienced boxer. Oftentimes, if you watch a boxing fight with a very experienced boxer, they'll be able to watch the fight and explain the bad things that are going to happen before they happen. They'll sit there and go, "Oh, this boxer's head movement is too rigid. He's going to get clipped with that hook." And then 30 seconds later, you watch him get clipped with a hook. That's the kind of intuition that you can get. But your gut cannot tell you something about large geopolitical situations. The reason is because in this general's lifetime, the U.S. has fought exactly 2 wars. Iraq and Afghanistan. He may have been alive for the Gulf War. He may have been a teenager or maybe like 20. So I wouldn't say that this data set is enough to trust your gut on when wars happen. It's also important because he's describing a great power conflict, something that has not happened since the Second World War, really. Okay. Xi, this is bad writing also. Xi secured his third term and set his war council in October 2022. You have not told us who you are referring to, who the subject of this memo is, right? This is just, you mean President Xi Jinping of China? You should specify that the situation is China. The situation right now is he's discussing his hopes and his gut feelings. This is not how tactical assessment is done. I'm sorry, we will go faster through this, but I want you guys to place in context the complete, and I'm going to be honest, unprofessionalism of this work. Xi secured his third term and set his war council. I don't think that's the term for it. I think it's not a war council. I think it's appointing members of his Ministry of Defense, which is something that every elected leader does. Taiwan's presidential elections are in 2024 and will offer Xi a reason to fight. Do you mean a reason to invade? But that's not clear. How will what is the pretext those elections will give to Xi Jinping? I don't understand. And if his goal is to communicate a geopolitical situation, this context is absolutely necessary. Reasons for war, I think casus belli, are usually highly specific. And why is it Taiwan's presidential elections are going to potentially entail the election of a strong anti-Chinese party? That might be a reason, but he doesn't say that. U.S. presidential elections are in 2024 and will offer Xi a distracted America. I don't understand that either. Ukraine, the Ukraine invasion, right, also happened during a fairly partisan time. I mean, it's not clear that America has the ability to deal very well with crises, even transitioning administrations. Look at the 2008 financial crisis, in which the administration transitioned entirely from George Bush to Barack Obama, but the management of the crisis actually remained fairly seamless. Okay, Xi's team, reason, and opportunity are all aligned for 2025. Okay, it doesn't specify his reason. And opportunity, I guess it's an opportunity. I assume he means Air Mobility Command, spent 2022 setting the foundation for victory. I want to point out that he's talking about Xi's victory, I guess. We will spend 2023 in crisp operational motion building. I'm not sure this is a doctrinal term. Let me look it up. I might be wrong. I'm not super familiar with Air Force doctrine. But it could be. Let's see. Motion building Air Force. No results at all when you do it in quotes. Let's see. Motion building Air Force doctrine. No, it appears. No, the next reference after this article is Newton's laws of motion, building. So this does not appear to be an Air Force doctrinal term. We spent on crisp operational motion, building on that foundation. Oh, there's supposed to be a comma here. So, okay, we spent on 2020 in crisp operational motion, building on that foundation. If you want to know what the January operational motion I demand looks like, look at what Total Force Team Charleston did in January. Okay, what is Total Force Team Charleston? I'm here to give you guys context. Team Charleston, January 2023. Okay. Air Combat Command's Pinnacle of tactics. I don't understand. I don't know what this is. Joint Base Charleston, an exercise. It looks like there was some sort of exercise. Yeah, this is just an exercise in a large scale Air Force exercise. Also not clear. Commander's intent. Well, that was an unclear situation. Go faster. This is okay. So there is a place and a time and a place for simple commands, right? Simple commands can be very, very effective, but without providing a better situational context, it's like driving faster when you don't have any address plugged into Google. All you're doing is getting lost quicker. Drive readiness, integration, and agility for ourselves and the joint force to deter and, if required, defeat China. Okay, this is now, look, this is actual doctrinal, right? Okay, readiness, integration, and agility. Those are doctrinal terms, right? Integration just means all the parts working together. So aircraft working together, services working together. Readiness means the ability to go from receiving an order to executing that order quickly, and agility is generally the ability to change plans and operations in response to changing circumstances. So these are three things that their commanders actually know what they mean. And deter means to present a force strong enough to prevent your enemy from doing something. And of course, defeat is self-aware. It's preventing the enemy from realizing their tactical, operational, or strategic goals. Okay, this is the first of 8 monthly directives from me. Oh boy, lucky Air Mobility Command getting to read these just brilliant treatises. You need to know I alone own the pen to these orders. Oh, we know that you haven't let anyone else read this. Normally, a good commander is going to write these sort of things, and then they're going to have people like their chief of staff or their executive officer or a deputy commander or even a secretary read their orders to make sure they haven't missed anything, because good commanders know that no matter how experienced they are, they realize that they are one human brain. They're capable of being influenced by the weird things they read on Facebook. They're even unconsciously influenced by things that unrelated happen to them. You get a terrible night's sleep. You have a hangover because you went a little hard in the whiskey. All of those things are going to influence your mind's perspective of things. And literally, this, I suspect, is what happened here, is that he drafted this and then didn't have a second, third, or fourth set of eyes look it over. Again, there's simple grammar and clarity mistakes that really, at the GO level, the general officer level, should be addressed. My expectations are high, and these orders are not up for negotiation. Follow them. Sort of always implied, but okay. I will be tough, fair, and loving in my approach to secure victory. I mean, good, cool. That is a good aspirational goal for a leader, right? Tough, fair, and I wouldn't say loving. I'd be like compassionate, but okay. It's hard to argue with that. The end state. Okay, this is also doctrinal. This is like basically defining victory conditions. A fortified, ready, integrated, and agile joint force maneuver team ready to fight and win inside the first island chain. Okay, this is a problem because you may notice that the end state is unclear. Like, when are you fortified enough? How ready is ready? What exactly do we use to measure readiness? What does integrated and what does agile mean? These are principles, but they aren't actual end states. A good end state will involve like a time, a place, a status. So for example, instead of saying we want to be ready, you might say something like the end state is that 85% or more of our combat aircraft are operational or can be made operational within 24 hours. That's a good goal, right? That's the sort of status, the state that you can achieve. But no commander can achieve the unspecified readiness, right? Because it's a moving goalpost. Same with agility, right? There are metrics you can use to try to measure agility. And metrics aren't perfect, but again, an end state, you have to actually have a finish line, not a vague statement of like, well, you're going to run until you're tired and until it doesn't feel right anymore. That's not how you run a marathon. We have a finish line. Ready to fight and win inside the first island chain. Okay, the first island chain may mean something, but it's not immediately obvious, right? When we look it up, the first island chain refers to an entire Pacific chain of islands, marked in red here. You can see it involves the Alaskan Islands, south from, looks like Russia, across Japan, all the way around, looping into Thailand. So maybe this is something the Air Mobility Command can do. But again, I'm such a skeptic because this isn't really that specific. This seems bigger. And also, he's talking about a joint force maneuver team who's going to fight and win. Well, if you're Air Mobility Command, you don't have a fighting role. You have a fighting support role. And so it's important that if you're you have to understand your audience, right? You don't need to tell your air mobility wings that they need to fight and win. They need to be prepared to support Air Force operations at a 24-hour tempo inside of the first island chain. And usually you would mark an appendix. You would say, okay, reference this island chain here. This is how you give real military guidance. And I know you're like, I think a general knows how to give real military guidance. Unfortunately, this guy, I would trust everything this dude says about air mobility operations. Truly, I would shut my pie hole in response to that. But you have to remember, generals are trained to run their commands. They're not trained in geopolitics. They're not trained. A lot of generals don't even understand how funding is allocated at the congressional level, let alone how Congress sets its priorities. They don't understand. They have limited understanding of how the Pentagon forecasts long-term geopolitical risk. And they may not even realize that the Pentagon doesn't forecast geopolitical risk in a vacuum. They work with their partners at the State Department and even at the classified level with intelligence agencies like the CIA to help put together these big pictures. And I can tell you with certainty, because of need to know, the Air Mobility Command general did not get the CIA's intel briefs on Chinese Politburo intentions. And the people that do have access to that are things like the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. And you notice they aren't saying this stuff. So remember, Air Mobility Command, the Air Mobility Commander only has need to know about things in the air mobility space, which is not Xi Jinping and a war council, whatever that means, and his intentions on Taiwan. Again, he doesn't know. Okay. End state, right? Maximize use of force and the tools we currently have to extract full value from things that currently exist. This is, again, a good general principle, but full value is not a measurable metric. We don't know, especially when you're talking about maximizing something and extracting full value. Those things need to be clearly defined. Close gaps in C2, navigation, maneuver under attack, and tempo. Those possible, but you would again have to get your command's access to classified intelligence on the Chinese Air Force's capabilities, which they probably don't have access to, and they probably don't have need to know on. Risk. Run deliberately, not recklessly. Okay, risk also, doctrinal term, fine. He's caveating go faster, which I appreciate. Governed by the principle of calculated training risk. Just generally smart. Interpret to mean the avoidance of death, serious injury, and Class A damage to attain higher readiness, integration, and agility. This is actually really good. I support this. The idea that we have to, in every training operation, balance the importance of growing our capacity against the risks. And this means that if you have some damage to property, if you lose some items, if, you know, you run a little hard in the paint, it's okay. It's okay to do these things. And I want to point out that the military is famous for saying these things and legendary for not living up to them, right? You can't have a frantic operational tempo, but then also shut down the entire post and cancel all leaves if someone loses a 9mm pistol. You can't have both of those things be true. If the tactic, technique, and procedure you're developing increases the air mobility command's ability to fight and win inside the first island chain, ... move out. You don't. No, you don't use ellipsis. This isn't a text thread. I can't talk smack on Zoomers now for their text talk because now it's in official memoranda at the GO level. If you're comfortable in your approach to training, then you're not taking enough risk. Okay, but I want to see, I guarantee it, some commander is going to do some hard training. A soldier is going to roll their ankle, and his commander is going to go, "Why didn't you mitigate the risk by having everyone, wear running shoes or something?" And he's going to show up with this memo, and it's not going to protect that commander at all. That's just the military I know and love. OT&E. I don't actually know what OT&E stands for. Attach our OT&E efforts from the Phoenix Rally, guide our preparation, but are not intended to limit creativity of approach. This is not an all-encompassing risk. I expect you to move out briskly, it's a better term, on the monthly task, anticipate projected tasks, and weave them eloquently into your unit's training and operational battle rhythms. All right, sounds, generals are also masters of good talk. Weave them eloquently. Okay, sure, bud. All right. Looks like there is some attachments. This is our attachment. A, all AMC personnel with weapons qualifications will fire a clip into a 7-meter target with the full understanding that unrepentant lethality matters most. Aim for the head. Guys, okay, a clip. I'm gonna put this on the screen because this is important, right? Okay, here we go. This is important. This is a magazine. The magazine is inserted into the magazine well of basically every standard issue sidearm and individual weapon in the US's arsenal, with the exception of the squad automatic weapon. Full stop. Rounds are inserted into the magazine. Now, a clip is a way you can store rounds in preparation for shipping them. So this is a stripper clip, right? When the rounds are manufactured, they are sometimes put into these stripper clips for easy transport, and with the assistance of a tool, they can be used to rapidly and easily load magazines. Here's a pistol magazine. Here is another stripper clip. This is a magazine. This is an on-block clip used in the Second World War for the Grand battle rifle. This is a way in which a clip, and this has ruined everything because this and this stripper clip are two times where rounds are inserted into the weapon because it has an internal magazine using a clip. So you could say, as of World War II, I'm going to fire a whole clip at a target, and people would basically know what you mean. If you say I'm going to fire a clip out of my M16, you will be doing push-ups until your arms fall off. Again, if he had anyone else read this, they would have been like, fire a magazine. And sure, aim for the head. Got it. All personnel are update their VRED. I don't know, some annoying system that doesn't work right. All commanders will acknowledge this order directly to me immediately. Then report all 2022 accomplishments preparing for the China fight. And and forecast major efforts through 2023 chain of commands by close of business in 1 month. Wow. So you can imagine these guys' staffs are going to be completely pivoting and looking at way different operational concerns, especially because probably they were looking at continuing to support U.S. efforts in Syria and the Middle East, continuing standard support for U.S. training efforts, and supporting U.S. efforts and force projection and deterrence for their NATO partners in Russia. I guarantee it. Those are all geopolitical missions that the Air Mobility Command has a role in. So the fact that he's coming out and unilaterally, it appears, ordering Air Mobility Command to stop conducting operations supporting NATO partners against Russian aggression is not a great look for a commander. This dude definitely got an angry phone call from somebody who's much bigger than some Air Mobility Command. Someone in the Pentagon read this and was like, hell no, we need Air Mobility Command to support, oh my gosh, what is it? Not U.S. Army Europe. They call it like EUCOM or something, or whatever the European command is. Northcom? No, Northcom is North America. Let me know in the comments. Oh, right. They also have to, remember, Air Mobility Command, air refueling, they also have a mission to support STRATCOM and U.S.'s strategic efforts, right? Okay, due dates in March projected. All units will report progress for Indo-PACOM operations discussed and reviewed at Fall Phoenix Rally. I don't know what that is. All Air Mobility Command personnel will consider their personal affairs and whether a visit should be scheduled with their base legal office to ensure they are legally ready and prepared. What? Okay, this is what you do before a deployment. So he assumes that the war will come on so abruptly that personnel won't have time to write their wills. Like this is what he means. He's telling people, update your wills. Get it together, man. And KC-35, these are refueling planes. Units will coordinate to provide conceptual means of air delivering 100 off-the-shelf size and type UAVs from a single aircraft. Where did this come from? Again, if you're not read into Chinese capabilities, then you may not know. This is something that like DARPA is working on. They don't need the Air Mobility Command to figure out how to build a UAV swarm, okay? And if you believe that your command is capable of this, then your delusion is like more powerful and frightening than I appreciated. All units will report integration plans for Mobility Guardian. I don't know what that is. It's some exercise. Admin. Oh, he's adding an admin task. The assist A3, I think that's their version of S3 or an operations staff. Formalize these orders into a Frago format. This is classic. A general comes up with an idea that is only like vaguely adjacent to reality, right? It's like not this doesn't make any sense based on the UAVs that we currently have. And then he says, don't worry, I'm going to take this flight of fancy, these nonsense ideas, and my operations cell is going to turn these into real orders. Good luck, guys. Have fun with that. Completion progress reporting format and advancement will be measured, driven, and collected by the A3. God, love it. Through the ARC, NAF, and EC leadership. Let's go. Okay, there's one more. OT&E requirements. Oh, organization, training, and equipment. Okay, this is actually like, this is probably what the readiness level that he wants to see. See how what's with the check marks? But they're red, amber, and green, right? Green means totally ready to go. Amber means sort of ready, but not quite. And unchecked means it hasn't been started yet. Okay, so what he's saying is he probably wants all of these readiness metrics to be green. Okay, that's like a real plan. But if that was your intent, then where do you say it? You have to say those things. So anyway, guys, that is this nonsense. Yeah, this is complete and utter preposterous BS. Like this is a reminder that there's a common problem in anyone who gets a lot of authority, whether you're Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or a two-star general in charge of the Air Mobility Command, is that you believe because you're an expert in one domain and you spend all your time in that domain that you are actually an expert in all domains, not realizing that it's really hard to be an expert at one area, like air mobile operations or air mobility and support operations. And you should but you should know that if that's your expertise, you should stay there. And generals, because they're surrounded by staffs who by definition are yes men, they have a legal relationship to their commander that they have to do what he or she says. It means that there's a lot of that yes man groupthink delusion. And this person has deluded themselves into thinking they actually are a geopolitics expert when they're not. And we should trust the actual experts. Again, Joint Chiefs of Staff, senior State Department officials, CIA officials. Read what they say publicly. You can trust that will contain at least true statements, if not complete statements. Anyway, that's all I had. Hit subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next one.